Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today is going to be a little bit of a different video in which it's going to be an update or amendment to my previous video that I did talking about the BT8 pre-release. So in the BT8 pre-release, I usually cover the sealed format rules, and these are the rules that are currently found on Bandai's website. So when I was going over the rules, I read down here that on standard Digivolutions, you can ignore colors, which means on alternate Digivolutions, you have to pay attention to colors. So I thought you had to pay attention to the DNA Digivolution rules and actually follow the color requirements because of literally what it says in the rules here. That was my train of logic when I made that statement. I did also know that DNA Digivolution is still technically a Digivolution, so it left a lot of people kind of confused on what we were supposed to do in terms of if DNA Digivolutions were supposed to ignore them in terms of their color requirements, or if we actually have to follow them. So in the European and Oceanic regions, they kind of had a mixed feeling and mixed representation on what it was supposed to be ruled as, but we finally got clarification on what that rule is supposed to be with an amendment to the sealed format rules. So these were actually found on Facebook. I'm pretty sure Twitter has them as well, and this is going to be mostly for the North American pre-releases. So it states right here as the amendment that colors can also be ignored for DNA Digivolutions and special Digivolutions. However, all other conditions, such as level, name, and trait, must be met. Then, when sticking cards for DNA Digivolutions, you can stack them on top of that Digimon of your choice. So it's just them stating that DNA Digivolutions are going to be rainbow evolutions, like the way normal Digivolutions are for sealed and limited formats. Then we also got a nifty little rule for when there's not enough eggs to go around in sealed and limited environments. So there's this other rule that got added down here just under the DNA Digivolutions are colorless rule that we just got, where it states that in sealed formats during the breeding phase, players don't need to choose between hatching a Digi-Egg or moving a level 3 Digimon from their breeding area to the battle area. Instead, players can place a level 3 Digimon from their hand in an empty space in their raising area without needing to digivolve on top of a level 2 Digi-Egg. So in the example that they're given, during the breeding phase, either player can place a level 3 Agumon from their hand into their breeding area without needing to digivolve onto a Koromon. There is no need to digivolve onto a hatched level 2 Digi-Egg in their breeding area. This only applies to sealed format games. So basically breaking down that new rule, we don't need to have a Digi-Egg in our raising area to be able to raise a Digimon. So that's a cool new addition because a lot of the problems with sealed format stems from not actually having Digi-Eggs. You won't be able to get the draw because you're not actually digivolving, but it still allows you to hide a Digimon in your raising area and still safely go up the chain, to allow the actual act of digivolving and playing the game to be a little bit less clunky as they possibly can make it. Because a lot of these problems do stem from the fact that Digimon was not designed to be played in this type of environment, and these rules are just tacked on rules to the game to try to make it as playable and possible as it possibly can. I already thought, compared to a lot of the other sealed up formats, that BT8 was looking to be one of the better sealed formats, but with all of these new additions and rules, I think it's going to be even better than I was going to be anticipating. It is just a little bit unfortunate that European and Oceanic territories were not able to play with these rules, and these rules probably should have came out a while ago, considering how much time they had in between BT07's pre-release and BT08's pre-release to be able to think and concentrate on these rules. And while it is a little bit unfortunate, I totally understand how this type of a ruling kind of slipped past them, and it took so long for it to actually, make it into some rules that's still not actually updated on their main website as of the recording of this video. So in my perspective, what happened was because these are one-shot events that are usually only held once per set release, they didn't necessarily think it was super important to update those rules to make these changes until all of the controversy on these rules came into light. So again, the game is not designed for this, so it wasn't in their peripheral vision to fix it and iterate on the rules to change it with all of the subsequent sets and all of the new mechanics that were coming out for those subsequent sets. So that's kind of my interpretation on how it fell by the wayside. And another factor that led me to believe this is because, I don't know if people know this or not, but the game is ran by Bandai Japan. So when I say Bandai Japan, I mean it is literally the Bandai from Japan. There is no English side of Bandai that is actually holding or doing anything. It is all ran by the Japanese side. And because the game wasn't really designed to be played in this type of capacity, to see any updates that were needed to the rules until the confusion started happening. Then the reason why it took so long was because they needed to figure out a way to be able to iterate on the rules to incorporate the changes to these new mechanics, and that obviously took a little bit of time because it happened a little bit too late, and because they are from Japan, there were probably emails and lag time that only added to the delay in terms of actually amending these rules to be what they needed to be. But just as a quick little aside, going back to the whole Bandai Japan thing, they are the ones that are also printing the cards, which is why we've seen so many delays in North America, more specifically compared to other regions, is because it's easier for them to ship out to Oceania and Europe than it is to North America, on top of the fact that the North American supply chain is in a complete state of disarray as of right now, and it's moving slower than it usually does. But now that we have these changes, it is going to impact the North American pre-releases. As far as the content in my initial BT08 pre-release video, I think the majority of it still holds true. If anything, this just puts a heavier emphasis on having a good amount of level 3s, because now you could just put them into the raising area if you don't have a Digi-Egg. Then on top of that, because the DNA Digivolutions are rainbow, that's going to make them even more valuable, because you could utilize them in more ways than what were initially allowed. But outside of that, everything else kind of holds true, and I think as a result, it's going to make it a more enjoyable sealed experience. So with all that said and done, I hope everyone goes back and watches my initial video if they haven't, just so they could get caught up on how to play in a pre-release and what a pre-release is, and hopefully that video will still help you, on top of this video adding the amendments to the rules that people might not be aware of. And I wish everyone the best of luck on their pre-releases. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.